You've heard of stealing a wallet, stealing a car, but stealing a house? Well, that's what almost happened to this one right behind me here. Today, we're going to talk about a real-life case of title theft and how my probate team worked to stop the perpetrator in his tracks and what you can do to prevent it. Come on, let's go. Welcome back to the channel featuring the leading probate real estate team in the greater Sacramento area. I'm Brendan Moore, realtor and certified probate and trust specialist by the California Association of Realtors.
And I'm Bill Heyman. I'm a licensed California professional fiduciary, as well as I'm a licensed California real estate broker. And last but not least, I'm also a registered and bonded California legal document assistant, specializing in uncontested probate.
Now please, like this video, subscribe to our channel. Want a no-cost probate service? Every day we help people save thousands of dollars and eliminate headaches with our one-of-a-kind probate administration service and real estate listing combo. If it's in California and real estate needs to be sold, you may qualify. So reach out. Our information is on the channel. We love your calls, texts, emails, and comments. Well, let's get into it. So it's protecting your property, how title theft in probate was thwarted. So we experienced a real-life case of title theft right after we really started our work on this particular probate property. And we'll get into how it happened, the details of this particular one. You'll even get to see a walkthrough of the house while we're talking, and we're just kind of narrating it. And we'll get into how to prevent it, because this is something that can happen to you in probate, and you need to know how to prevent it. It can really happen to anybody.
I think at times probate homes may be a little more of a target.
Yeah, and we'll get into that coming up. So this one in particular, Bill, this one came to me. Somebody had told somebody that I know about this particular property, and that somebody had passed away, and that the family was just going to let it go. They didn't think there was any equity in the house, and this house was in pretty bad shape, and he was interested in buying it. This particular person that somebody I know was talking to. I got alerted to it. I started talking to the neighbor and found out what was going on, that there was one heir and she was just gonna let it go. We tracked down that heir. We looked up all the information and knew about how to track everyone down, and there was just one heir, right? And you spoke with her?
I did. It was the deceased person's sister.
Yes, and she lived out of state, and that's really common. We get people all the time that we've never met out of state. We just do everything remotely. It was somewhere around, I believe, October of 2022, and she agreed to let you handle it.
Yeah.
Of course, you, in this particular case, offered no-cost probate service.
Correct.
Probate administration service, and she said, okay, yeah, go ahead, but I don't think there's any equity there. So we started it. You put in the petition with the court, and you were also the administrator.
Correct. And
we got the letters issued. So,
and here's where it gets interesting.
Yes. Now, before the letters were issued, you and I took a tour of the house. It was not in great shape. There was actually a big tree branch on the roof. It was almost the size of a regular tree, but the house inside was pretty fine. It was somewhat well organized. Just the house in general was not in good shape. So the day that you said, hey, we got the letters, and that's when a listing agreement can be executed. Right. So really, I'm not a party to the transaction until that. Got the letters of administration, a court appointment from the judge. Bill says, hey, we're ready to go. Sign the listing agreement. Next day I go over there, and Sacramento County Code Enforcement met me over there. We arrived at the exact same time. And I walk up to the house and I see there's a big dumpster out front. And I'm thinking, why is there a dumpster out front? And there was a car parked in front of the next door neighbor's driveway with a gentleman in it. I didn't really think too much of it. But then I go in the house and the house is in disarray. There's several pieces of missing furniture, and none of this stuff was really valuable. It was not, it was old stuff, but the house looked very much trashed, but it was because somebody had come in and started throwing a lot of stuff away. So the code enforcement guy, he talks to the guy in the car. The guy in the car is like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And he speeds away. So then I call you and I say, hey, Bill, there's this dumpster out front. What's going on? And then you started looking into some stuff. You looked at title. What'd you find?
Well, I found that a person had recorded a deed that showed that the deceased person had deeded the property over to him, and in essence was a forged deed. It took some research to find all of that out, that this truly was a forged deed. But I guess I'll get into it a little here. What we found was, or I found was, that the notary stamp, there was a question about the notary stamp. Something didn't look right. So I proceeded to contact that notary. It was a very, very nice woman in Southern California, and talked to her about this. And it turned out she had no record of ever doing that notary. Her notary stamp had been stolen, and she had to go get a new one. And then I sent her a copy of the actual deed that had the notary's signature on there. She inspected it, and we talked again after that, and she said, "That is not my signature." Obviously, at that point, we knew we had a forged deed. We had someone who was attempting title theft.
And she had had a previous stamp of hers stolen, which she had a police report for and everything.
Yes, she did.
So essentially what happened here is they found this house. We'll talk a little bit later on how they picked this particular house, but used a quitclaim deed with a stolen notary stamp and forged. It wasn't even the person's real name on the quitclaim deed. Most likely they had also committed identity theft on somebody else. So they would have a social security number and ID for somebody else completely.
Yeah, it was an obvious case of a forged deed and identity theft.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But it's not so simple from here. Well, why don't we watch the video of the house while we talk about this, because this is going to be a really interesting one. So here we are at the house here, and you can see, it's an older house. There's a shake roof. There was a huge tree on that roof right there where I'm zooming in, and there's actually a hole in the roof right there. And when the tree was removed by the perpetrator, because he was at one point trying to get a cash out refi and the appraiser would have required that, it unplugged the hole and water got in the house and further damaged it. But so from here, we had a stolen title, essentially. At that point, somebody tried to steal the house. The neighbor said that he actually saw somebody out there saying that they just recently bought that house and they were going to flip it and sell it to somebody. Now, we'll get into what the scam actually was and who those people were later. So after that, I had a nice conversation with the code enforcement from Sacramento County. You got the Sacramento Sheriff and the County DA, Sac County DA involved, right?
I did, yeah. I called the district attorney, Sacramento County District Attorney, and they were extremely helpful. And they were extremely concerned about real estate fraud. That's a big deal. And I got them involved. They started an investigation and actually did a lot of good in this case.
And then from there, you also got a civil attorney involved, because one of the things that has to happen is you have to do what's called quiet the title.
Right.
Essentially, you're reversing the title, reversing the fraud. It's unfortunately a long process because it takes a judge, and it did take, I think, a year.
About a year, yeah. But we realized that there was equity in this estate, and I managed to find a real estate attorney that was willing to get paid out of escrow once the house was sold, rather than take upfront fees. So that was very helpful. But the attorney was very good at assisting. Actually worked with the DA as well in getting this taken care of.
So we had the Sacramento County DA working on the criminal side. We had a civil attorney working on the civil side. And we notified all the neighbors. There was a great neighbor across the street who really, really helped as well. Yeah. And just the neighbors in the community really helped to monitor the situation and give me a call. I met a lot of the neighbors, gave my information out. And when the dumpster company came to pick it up, the neighbor got it on their camera, the license plate number of the truck, got that over to the DA, was able to identify who ordered the dumpster, and his California driver's license matched his image on the camera footage from the recorder's office when he brought in the fraudulent.
Yeah.
Deed.
Yeah. It's true. The district attorney actually obtained the video footage when he went in to record that deed at the recorder's office.
And some that you're seeing on the screen right here, it didn't, this is the living room, it didn't look like that before. It was super neat. It did not look anywhere near that. And the kitchen wasn't all totally rummaged through. The bedrooms weren't rummaged through. It was quite something. The backyard footage to me is kind of funny because it was a really, really stormy, windy day, and that tree right there that we're looking at actually in the neighbor's house broke in half while I was out in the backyard at one point, and sent me running away because there it is, it fell in the backyard right where I was standing. So a little bit cursed, I suppose. But and ultimately, the DA was able to get enough information to issue a warrant for the gentleman and faced multiple felonies.
Yeah.
He was eventually arrested, that we found through some records. And sure enough, it wasn't his first time doing any sort of fraudulent stuff. He had other warrants for forgery, all sorts of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it is. Here's what to recap, our decedent passed away. The house was vacant for a while, and this gentleman, he tried to steal the house through a falsified, forged quitclaim deed with a stolen notary stamp. He backdated when it was signed to before the decedent passed away. So first, what were they planning on doing? Most likely they were trying to flip, then sell the house. They thought they got away with it. The scam, basically selling the house, the name on title may match their stolen ID and any stolen personal info. So that's where the identity theft part comes in. They could also do a for sale by owner, and this is a warning to people looking to buy for sale by owners. You really want to know who you're talking to, because they had a stolen notary stamp, and usually a signing is done through a notary. You don't go to the title company usually to do that. So they can set up a system where you send the down payment to a certain account number. You have a notary come along, she looks all really nice and everything, stamps everything, and you sign all the documents. None of the documents are real. Your down payment just went to an offshore account, and the notary's not real either. You don't even own the house. Once we had gone over there and we put up a bunch of signs, remember, in the window?
Oh, yes.
And gosh, there were so many things that happened. We put up a bunch of warning signs. When they found out that they were essentially caught, they tried to do a cash out refi. And an appraiser came over and was spooked by everything that was in those windows there. So they couldn't get the cash out refi. Then nothing really happened. We were just waiting through the process for the criminal case, the civil case. I was alerted that squatters had come into the house once. I had to get Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. I was there till almost midnight one night. There was a lot. Just making sure that this house more people weren't going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
This is where we get to how to prevent this. So one of the things that alerted the perpetrator to this is the house was obviously vacant. This gets into why you should start probate quickly.
That's right, don't wait.
And in this particular case, the house's condition got worse. There were further fees and property taxes, all that, but it also ended up being a candidate for title theft. There was no mortgage on the property, and the reason why that's a big deal is because it makes it easier to transfer title. So he most likely saw that somebody had passed away, the home is obviously vacant, there's no major encumbrances as far as a mortgage on title. This is probably going to be easy. And if this had gotten to the market sooner, most likely this would not have happened.
Yeah.
So some things to prevent it. You might see those commercials for like a title alert company. Those will only, there's one I think it's called Title Lock or something.
Right.
You can't lock your title. You will only, what those companies do is they just alert you if anything has happened with your title. So essentially you'd be right in the boat where we were, trying to chase this down.
That's right.
A mortgage would help if that were on title.
Right.
Well, something that you did, you filed a lis pendens.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what a lis pendens is, it's basically just something that gets recorded with the recorder and just signals that there's pending litigation on the property. What that does is, if anybody tries to sell the property or do something with it, a title company will see that list pendants immediately and will not allow it to go forward.
So even if there's not a mortgage on the property, it might be good to do something like that. I think getting the home on the market as soon as possible is probably the best thing to do.
Yep.
But changing the mailing address, forward the mail to you, because if something starts to happen where someone's maybe trying to sell the house or do some sort of identity theft or something like that, you'll start getting mailings. You'll get mailings from title companies, you'll get mailings from other companies, and you'll see name changes, people you don't recognize.
Right.
And that can be alert. Talk to a title company.
Yep.
There's a lot of great title companies to give a call to and see if anything has happened to monitor title yourself. Let neighbors know.
Yeah.
And how many times do we see it where like the neighbors are really concerned whenever they even see us when we roll up to a property, they know somebody passed away.
Sure.
That's a great thing to do to prevent it as well. Hire the right team and start quickly. And we have a lot of information on hiring the right team.
I'll just throw this in for what it's worth. The sister who's the heir is extremely happy because she's a very, very nice woman. I really enjoy working with her, but she thought that this home was just going to be lost and nothing was going to come of it. But it's kind of nice because she's going to get a check for about $250,000 when the probate concludes, which is not in the too distant future. So,
yeah, the home sold for more than that. There's other expenses
Yeah.
and liens and all that kind of stuff. But she thought it was over encumbered,
right?
and we're just going to let it go.
Yeah.
And then especially after this title theft thing, it looked like all was lost, but
Yeah.
persisted with it.
It ended up good for the sister, which that makes me very happy. That's what I like to do, is be able to do things like that for people.
If you have any other questions about this particular thing or with title theft and maybe how to prevent it, please reach out to us. We'd love to, of course, help you with your probate situation. Bill offers a great service where he does probates for considerably less than an attorney would, often a no-cost probate when there is real estate involved. I'd like to thank the Sacramento County DA's office,
Definitely.
the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. Thank you so much for meeting me at midnight one night. Code enforcement, the great neighbors, really appreciate everyone's help.
Yeah.
They were all very, very helpful, and the DA's office I can't say enough about.
Yeah, I agree. I want to give kudos to the Sacramento District Attorney. They have been just outstanding in their service, and for sure.
Really, I think that somebody could have gotten away with this, but what would have happened, it would have been a long legal battle between the rightful seller or rightful owner with the new buyer. Unfortunately, the person who bought the house would most likely lose all their money, and the title would be transferred back to the owner. But a big, big, big pain, and you just want to start probate fast.
Yep.
So you want to start the probate, and perhaps you need to know how to start it and who is going to probate the estate and how much is that's going to cost. We get into that in this next video. It talks about all the costs associated with probate, ways that you can save money through that process, and maybe who is the right person to hire to probate your estate. It's a video called How Much Does Probate Cost in Sacramento County? It really covers all of California as far as those costs go. It's a great video to watch. You're right over my head.